Hi, this is Cynthia Sue Larson with RealityShifters.com, and today talking with you about what's going on, why is there so much chaos, and what can we do? So these are big questions that a lot of people are asking these days, and it does seem like there's a lot of chaos. Let's start with what's going on, just some sort of a global perspective. And a lot of people, myself included, have been aware of energy lines, dowsing, the energy grid, if you will, around the planet. I used to read the books written by Hamish Miller back in the 1990s, actually in the 1980s. And he was a big influence in my life, just recognizing that there are energy lines that we can learn to douse, either with rods or wires or dowsing rods, things that you can create. I described this in my book, Aura Advantage. And I describe how I traveled through England and got to have some great dowsing experiences. And what I want to look at now with what's going on is when we look at the legacy of these dowsers, including current proponents of these same methodologies that Hamish was utilizing when tracking things such as the Michael and Mary lines that he describes in his book, The Sun and the Serpent. Current author and dowser Rory Duff has been tracking these energy lines, and he was predicting in advance that there would be some very large energy lines showing up on the planet. And indeed, they've been measured, and I tracked some of them with my friend Melinda Iverson in. We went up to Mount Diablo and had an adventure there, learning to see how these class 4 energy lines were intersecting and interacting and bringing together a nodal point of energy up at the top of Mount Diablo in California. Anyway, what's happening now is that these very large energy lines are getting bigger and bigger. Now that we've got something bigger than any of the previously tracked energy lines called dragon lines by Rory Duff, and he was expecting and predicting that they would be growing and expanding and growing and expanding to the point that they weren't so much thin little lines, but that they were indeed covering the entirety of the surface of the Earth by the end of December 2024. And we're pretty much there now. So you might wonder, like, is that part of what's going on, that we're feeling and experiencing all this energy? Yes. And furthermore, we're also getting solar energy. A lot of people are noticing northern lights, which are not just in the confines of the northern latitudes anymore, but have indeed been noticed as far south as Mexico, and I think even further south than that, pretty much all the way through California down to Florida. That's pretty much unheard of. In addition to the northern lights being observed by so many people in almost equatorial regions, we're noticing that the geomagnetic field protecting the Earth has been dropping. People that have been tracking that field, there were government agencies that used to report on it. Now I'm not seeing where they report on it, but the last time I saw, back around the year 2000, the geomagnetic field around the Earth had been dropped some 20% since the mid-1800s. So now maybe it's 25 or 30% decreased, in addition to all the solar activity, for the net effect that we're getting a lot of energetic influences on the planet, whether you're looking at the ley lines, the solar energy, the reduction in the Earth's geomagnetic field. All these factors provide the perfect situation for all of the people on the planet simultaneously to feel a big rush of energies, which they might not be familiar with. Now, this is along the lines of what some of us who've gone through Kundalini are quite familiar with. Kundalini energy rushes through the body, and it's an individual awakening for a person to feel energy moving through the chakras. And some of the things that tell you for sure that you're going through a Kundalini awakening might include waking up in the middle of the night, feeling that you can simultaneously be several places at once, having remote viewing, having teleportation experiences, lots of extraordinary experiences that are just too wild to go into in great detail, in addition to a rush of energy through the entire body, an activation of energy such, in my case, anything I thought would instantly manifest. So those are some of the markers. Now, if you map that across the entire planet and imagine for a moment that what if everybody on the planet, all 8 billion people, simultaneously are going through something somewhat similar to a Kundalini awakening, are we ready for whatever we're thinking to be manifest? And what does that do when it's not just an individual experience, but there's a collective element as well? Hopefully we're kind and loving and we've mastered the heart chakra, because as the Hopi indigenous people would tell us, we're about to move into the fifth world. So we need to have our hearts open. I think of it as an association between the fourth world and the fourth chakra, that our heart energy is very important for this fourth world. And in order to move to the fifth, which is basically the throat, where anything we think, anything we say could possibly instantly manifest, are we ready for that kind of responsibility yet? I think we're being introduced to this idea right now, and some of us are experiencing it. Thus, the next question, why is there so much chaos? Well, you can well imagine, if it is indeed true, as I'm hypothesizing, that many of us are going through a great increase of energy inside of ourselves, and we're feeling it collectively and individually, sometimes not yet having worked through all of our so-called shadow issues, meaning that we might still have feelings of being hurt, feel that we're caught up in some old drama, be inadvertently filtering the present moment by the lenses of our past hurts and pains and trauma. And if we're doing any of that, which some of us are, we'll see it, and I'm starting to see it from people who are being triggered, to me it seems unnecessarily, by things that seem quite benign, quite neutral, but they're taking some things quite seriously. And so if this sounds like something you've seen people doing, or maybe you notice you're doing it yourself, then that's a tip-off that this is part of the chaos that we're feeling collectively, as we definitely exert a mind-matter influence and interaction with the world. It may be subtle, but in times like these that are so energized, some of the effects may not seem quite as subtle as we may have hoped. So this past couple of weeks, I've noticed quite a lot of that. I've heard reports of people going through terrible situations that seem way against all odds, quite negative. And when they reach out to friends, sometimes those friends, instead of saying, like, oh, that's rough, let me help you, or what can I do to help? Instead, they're saying things like, what did you do to attract this? And so I just want to point out again, I've mentioned it before, there's an excellent book called The Inversion by Kingsley Dennis, and I'll be doing a video chat with him, which is going to premiere November 5th on Sandy Sedgebeer's channel. So that's going to be something to look forward to. It'll be a two-part series. We had a couple of good conversations. Anyway, his book, The Inversion, really gets into the nitty-gritty of what some of us are noticing. People in the Mandela Effect community are wondering, why do things seem to be making things worse? What's the interference? What's going on with that? And I've heard about this from lots of people. The author of Quantum of Conscience, that channel on YouTube, he talks about it. So Matt sometimes is talking about it. He has his words for it to describe it. Previously, people like Rudolf Steiner, Carl Jung, and Philip K. Dick have also noticed this. And I've mentioned this in the video that I did up in Colorado recently, talking about the egregore, which is an ancient concept of these thought forms that move ideas through people in a populace. You might think of it just as malevolence, or kind of this negative energy, sort of sitting on top of human consciousness. And that's pretty much the way a lot of people describe it. So it's this negative factor that interferes with a lot of people's ability to feel connected to their own divinity and to the true unconditional divine love from which everything truly was created, not this false creator that's in the way interfering. Some people think it has sort of an artificial intelligence or simulation component to it. That would be Philip K. Dick talking. He calls it the architect. But anyway, whatever you call it, definitely feels like an interference factor contributing to the chaos. So when people are feeling energized, they're not able to feel necessarily connected, they haven't perhaps cleared the shadow energy issues, maybe they're filtering all of what's happening in this present moment through pain and torment and trauma and drama of the past. And if any of that's going on, obviously, when you start recognizing, okay, we are co-creating this reality, we're doing it collectively, now we're contributing some chaos to what we're cooking up. And that does look like what's happening to me. So essentially, in this time of great chaos, some people are also noticing it sounds like spiritual warfare. And if you're following Greg Braden, he's been talking about that recently. He's not the only one, and he can bring up some evidence to show that the Dead Sea Scrolls indicate that the things they were talking about and warning about are here right now. That's the same thing Philip K. Dick was talking about, same as Carl Jung, same as Rudolf Steiner. And the Hopi, the indigenous people, have given us some advance warning that we'll be going through this difficult time. They recommend don't lose your head, literally, on the Hopi Prophecy Rock. The line that peters out are the ones who get disconnected from their bodies. They become disembodied and lose the divinity that we're capable of experiencing. When we accept that we're in physical bodies, that means we've got boots on the ground. Sometimes things don't go the way we want them to. Sometimes we get stuck in the mud. Sometimes things are traumatic and difficult. However, we've also been given a blueprint to be the wise humans that we truly are. Homo sapiens means wise humans. So you are a wise human. And I'm glad to be talking with you in this format right now, talking about these difficult times, because there is something we can do about it. And that's the third thing I wanted to bring up. What can we do? Fortunately, quite a lot. Some of the things we can do when there's chaos, I wrote a list of them so I don't forget them. We can take actions. You notice I do these videos mostly outside, and I'm fortunate in California to enjoy a very Mediterranean climate. So much of the year it's beautiful. I'm looking at butterflies in the garden right now, and it's just exquisite. So regardless where you live, if you can't go outside because of weather conditions, hopefully you can at least look out a window, connect with sky, maybe some trees, clouds. Anything natural can help give you a sense of balance and connection that we need when we're in these human bodies to reconnect with everything and everyone around us. And to feel that it's a simple action, just to spend a little time nature gazing. And if you're able to be outside, that's even better. To be barefoot is exquisite, really delicious and delightful. And if you can do that, it feels relaxing, it feels grounding, it feels loving. So walking barefoot is excellent. If you do that in the house even, it's good. Self-massage is wonderful. That could be just a neck massage, just massaging just these points that are just right here. We've got lymph connections. You can just use the 2 fingers and massage that, tap them a little bit. And that can circulate some of the lymph in your body. It's really loving yourself and connecting with yourself. Another thing you can do, it's an action to clear this chaos, is to hum, which is just a I'm humming now. And if you can bring it to your heart and feel it in your body, bring it low. I like that low hum sound. And it may seem like, what am I doing? What's going on with this? You are balancing your nervous system, allowing yourself to take some deep breaths and just feel safe and loved in this moment right now. So those are good actions. You might think of some others. You can leave them in the comments. Another good thing, another whole category that you can do is meditation. Now, I spoke earlier about this sort of an egregore, this architect, this interference energy that sometimes people feel. Ideally, if you're able to, you want to connect directly to the absolute. You want to acknowledge that you're much more than just the body, which you are definitely in, but you also have an infinite eternal nature. And you have therefore the right to directly connect to the creator energy of the absolute. That would be God, that would be the source. It feels like divine love. So how do you do that? Well, one of my favorite ways to do that is through a meditation that has 3 parts. The first part is slowing down all thoughts. And if you can, bring it to a complete stop. So you might be thinking about, like, I hear noises, or there's a breeze, or there's sunshine shining on my face. So you're aware of that. And then you just let it go. Just let it go. Let it slow down. Feel the thoughts slowing down. almost like you're watching a cloud and it's slowing down. Maybe it dissolves completely. Maybe it goes away. That's fine, because you're just going to take it to a full stop. I usually close my eyes when I'm doing this. And in the stop point, when you reach that place where all thoughts are stopped, if you're able to hold it for just a moment, that's beautiful. That's exquisite. That's perfect. It's not like a contest or anything. However, if you're able to stay in that slowed down, stopped, sweet spot of stillness for about 10 to 20 minutes, I frequently, in that state of being, notice that I am in the presence of, you might think of it as nothingness, but ironically, it's the nothingness that has everything. And that's where I can feel the absolute. I can feel that that love and that safety is always with me. That's the second step here of the meditation. Might be a short moment, might be 10 or 20 minutes. Part 3, coming out of this meditation, it's really important to know that when you come out of it, you're actually literally stepping into a new reality. So when you were in that stillness, that was where all realities, you could say no realities and all realities simultaneously coexist. When you come back into your daily life, it's like you're choosing the particle nature. You're selecting, you're choosing something, you're popping the quantum wave function, you're stepping into a selected reality. And it'll be perfect. I prefer, of course, to always start all meditations with how good can it get. That's the intention going in. I start each day with how good can it get. So I recommend that practice, obviously, with this as well, so that when you step back into daily life, it's the how good can it get reality. And those are the 3 steps. So that's the meditation you can do. And intentions, I'm introducing that, kind of blending it with the meditation. That would be, of course, how good can it get? The intention would be that you are experiencing your best possible reality, hopefully every day, hopefully with each encounter. Every decision point, you can bring in how good can it get to that decision point. And then, is there anything more? Yes, there's extra for experts. So what would that be? Okay, extra for experts is just the idea that sometimes we can be the change that we wish to see in the world. This is the spiritual aspect of the whole process. Noticing sometimes, because we're in a human body, we're a human being, probably there are things to work on. Probably I could be more kind, more loving, more compassionate, more connected than I have been. I'd like to go in that direction. So by choosing that, and by recognizing that every opportunity I get to look at a temptation, the temptations would represent the 7 deadly sins: to be lazy, greedy, overly proud, all these things, slovenly, etc. And the Buddhists have even more than the 7. They've got hundreds of Buddhist torments, but they're all temptations of one form or another. To feel envious of someone else. And you might not think that's a temptation, but oh, believe me, it is. Because what happens if we fall into those dead ends, they are dead ends, then we're just spinning our wheels a little bit, finding out eventually, this doesn't go anywhere good. To be envious, to be proud, overly proud, to be greedy, to be any of these things is just to torment ourselves and to torment others unnecessarily. So this is the extra for experts. If you recognize that and you'd like to get to a point where you can actually be the change you wish to be in the world, here's the test, and you'll know it. We're getting lots of opportunities now. You'll invariably run into somebody who's dealing with their stuff. They're going to interpret for some reason, probably, that you have something to do with their stuff, and they may try to put that out there. And your opportunity is not to engage with the drama, wherever the drama may show up, wherever it may present itself. If there is no drama, excellent. That's how good can it get. If you do run into some drama, yay, you have an opportunity to stay calm, to stay loving, to stay kind, to not engage, to remember maybe what this individual or this experience is presenting is its own interpretation and its own overlay of what seems like it's happened in the past. So there will be an opportunity to improve for everyone involved, to become kinder, more loving, more compassionate. And for those of us who are capable of holding that just a little bit longer than we've done before, that's the exercise. So there you go. Hope you enjoy it. And until next time, just keep asking, how good can it get? Recognize every single one of us is a wise human, even if it doesn't look like that. Even though we're in a political season and you're hearing all kinds of terrible things about people, recognize every single individual, believe it or not, they are wise humans. When we hold that possibility for everyone that we see, we actually help to bring heaven on earth to this planet, Shambhala to this planet, the golden age, right here, right now. And that, to me, feels very much like, how good can it get? But maybe you can imagine something better, and I'd love to hear it. So feel free to share in the comments, and I love you so, so much. Take good care.